Hey Arnold was a very interesting show. For one thing, the show was set in a sprawling cityscape presenting a pretty unique concept due to a significant amount of plot stemming from things that kids who live in the city would actually do. Like, say, for example, cleaning up an old abandoned junk pile to use the space they free up as a place to play. Or, to use something more related to the season, when a snow day happens, kids practically take over the city's streets. This episode is actually from the first seasons, and you can tell that because Arnold still has his original voice actor, Lane Torren.
Is there something special you want to talk with me about, Arnold?
No. I just wanted to say hello and, just see how you're doing.
Starting from the beginning, the kids of PS 118 have just been let out for winter break, and Helga Pataki is walking down the street with her friend Phoebe. Helga isn't really saying anything really all that important, mostly just asserting how she views Christmas as a time of getting presents, with her focus zeroing in on the must-have gift of the season for girls her age. Helga absolutely positive she's gonna get the boots from her parents.
I'll get my boots, Rhonda Lloyd. I've been dropping hints to my parents for weeks, and they better not blow it, or I'll show them some holiday spirit.
Yeah, Helga, I'm pretty sure your mom's already got some holiday spirits in her after she Irishes up her eggnog. If you don't understand that joke, years ago it was explained that Helga's mom, Miriam, who during the show's run came across as a bit of an airhead, was revealed to actually be a severe alcoholic. They would just write her on the censors by her always drinking what she claims to be smoothies. Obviously intended to be either her sneaking booze through what on the surface looks like a normal smoothie, or she's drinking alcohol that happens to also be considered smoothies like pina coladas or daiquiris. But returning to the actual plot, at the same time Arnold and Gerald are having their own conversation due to Gerald trying to tie his way out of actually giving meaningful gifts to his family.
You can't just give everybody a tie for Christmas. Why not? Because Christmas is special. It's about showing the people you're close to that you really care about. When you give somebody a present, it should be unique.
As Arnold walks home, he passes by Helga, and it's revealed that motivated by her secret crush, she's actually going to be spending the rest of the episode trying to find the perfect gift for him. And after Arnold gets back to his home, all the residents of the building have actually gotten together to have their secret Santa, with Arnold getting Mr. Wynn. And picking up how sad he seems to be around this time of the year, Arnold, being the well-meaning young man he is, wants to get him something that will cheer him up. So he visits Mr. Wynn's room and tries to ask him in an indirect manner about what he wants for Christmas, and through chatting him up, Arnold learns something.
This time of year always make me remember.
Remember what?
It was a long time ago, Arnold. A very complicated story.
I'd like to hear it. Please tell me.
As he explains, 20 years ago in his home country, Mr. Wynn was living with his young daughter Mai. The problem is that Mr. Wynn is Vietnamese. He's from Vietnam, which in the show's then current year of 1996, 20 years ago, the Vietnam War was happening. Oh yeah, because nothing says Merry Christmas like the fall of Saigon. So, for obvious reasons, Mr. Wynn felt it necessary to get out of Vietnam before the situation deteriorated even further. Unfortunately for him, though, as history can attest to, a lot of other people had the same idea. This culminates with Mr. Wynn on a rooftop with a bunch of other scared Vietnamese people begging to get on an American helicopter trying to get out. And with only space for one more person, he had to make one of the hardest decisions that a parent can make.
I knew I had to do the best thing for Mai. I knew if I gave Mai to the soldier, they would take care of her.
As he ends his story, he explains that as the helicopter left, they said the name of a city, the city where the show takes place. With it taking him 20 years to leave, Mr. Wynn actually moved there to find Mai.
I believe she is here somewhere, but I have not been able to find her.
So now knowing this, Arnold knows what he has to do. No matter how hard it's going to be, he has to find Mai. And it will be hard. Now, at this point, you might be asking yourself why it's going to be so hard. You can find almost anybody through the internet nowadays, but keep in mind that when the show aired in the late 90s, social media didn't exist. There was no Facebook, no Twitter, no Instagram, there wasn't even MySpace. The internet was still some janky dial-up you had to pay for by the hour. If you really only knew someone's name and where they might live, you were basically looking for a needle in 3 haystacks all dumped together, with your only real clue being a phone book. The only reason it didn't take months to do this is that Arnold got lucky and managed to find the exact right government building that could help him track Mai down. But he wasn't lucky enough to get there before the whole office went to their annual Christmas party, meaning the only one left working the entire office is the department supervisor, Mr. Bailey, who was initially unwilling to help Arnold out due to the sheer amount of time it would take. That is, until Arnold realizes something interesting. See, Mr. Bailey hasn't finished his Christmas shopping yet, and Arnold proposes that he and Gerald will get everything on his list of stuff he still needs in exchange for Bailey helping them.
Be back here by closing time with the stuff on the list, and I mean all the stuff. and then I'll try running a search on your my win.
So after getting $300 from Bailey, Arnold and Gerald manage to get everything on the list. All that's left is the final thing, a pair of Nancy Spumoni snow boots, the kind, if you recall, that Helga was gushing over earlier. And, well...
Go ahead, kid. Tell us what you want.
A pair of Nancy Spumoni snow boots.
What an asshole!
I don't get it. What's so funny?
We've been sold out of those boots for a month.
So, unsurprisingly about the boots, Mr. Bailey isn't willing to do shite, and Arnold goes home dejected. The next morning it's Christmas, and the whole building is unwrapping their gifts, all except for Mr. Wynn. But before Arnold can confess what happened, somebody rings their doorbell. But why don't we rewind for a minute? Last night before Arnold went home, he was moping with Gerald in the park with an earshot of Helga. See, earlier she was actually trailing them to try to figure out what they were doing, and while Arnold goes home, Helga does the same, and after she gets home, her mother gives her an early Christmas present, the snow boots she wanted, and while she's initially overjoyed that she got the boots she wanted, it all rings kind of hollow.
On the one hand, I've got what I wanted for Christmas. But on the other hand, I've finally discovered the one perfect thing Arnold wants for Christmas. Oh, what's the right thing to do?
Helga, come on. We both know you can't stand to see old football head sad. So, after some consideration, Helga rushes over to Mr. Bailey's office just as he's leaving for the night to try and convince him to accept the boots in exchange for holding up his end of the bargain, with him initially blowing her off to go home after a long day, giving her no choice but to give a pretty heart-rending speech.
Dear heart, and we've got a choice here. Either you and I work all night to find a certain lost daughter, or you can leave now. But if you leave now, that little football-headed kid will never believe in miracles again.
And, well, the next morning...
Father?
My... Can't believe it.
This gets me. I mean, come on. All joking aside, it's a father and child being reunited after being separated by a horrific war for 20 years. Back to the story at hand, though, Arnold is bewildered. How did this happen? With Gerald only able to say he must have a Christmas angel, and I guess what else is there to say but...
Merry Christmas.